Hey y'all.
Hey guys, how's it going?
So we were a little irritated because we had already made this video and it was like, 45 minutes long or
Longer, I
something.
think.
And it did not upload correctly, so we're having to remake it, which is a bit of a pain in the ass, but it is what it is. So we're going to do a mock grade of a paper from Pirate Papers. If you have your Pirate Papers with you, it's on page 63. It's called Meet or Not to Meet. I also have a document that has my full comments and stuff on this paper that I'm putting up on Blackboard. My students can find that under the Project 3 tab. Just scroll past the assignment sheet and it'll be below that.
Yeah, and basically what we're going to do is I'll give the video link as well as the file as an attachment, a PDF for my students too, so you'll be able to pull it up and take a look, follow along with us while we're going through. We're not going to read the whole thing, mainly because we're pissed, but it also gets kind of redundant. So we'll go through the intro in the first couple of pages, and then we'll go to the conclusion and the works cited. Okay?
So if you want to, you can go ahead and pull up for my students. It'll be in Blackboard, like I said, on Project 2 tab. You can pull up the document that has my feedback if you want to look at that, or you can just look at the Pirate Paper itself. And for Jonathan's students, it's going to be in the announcement that this video is in, so you can do the same thing, pull up the full document that has my commentary. Okay.
All right, so the way it's going to work, I'm just going to read, Sarah's going to stop me, and we'll both make comments where necessary.
Yep.
All right, meet or not to meet by Anonymous.
Okay, so first thing, my students, I tell you this all the time. You need to have a specific detailed title. So, my rule. You take your title, you isolate it, you go give it to somebody on the street. They should be able to tell you what your paper is about with some level of accuracy. It's not going to be necessarily that they can tell you every little detail of it, but they should be able to tell you with some level of accuracy what your paper is about. So this title, for example, is not a great title because it's not really clear what exactly is going to be happening in this paper. Okay.
All right. Dear concerned meat eaters and veggie advocates.
Okay, so establishing audience is a good idea to do in your introduction. You should be establishing audience. However, what the hell is a concerned meat eater or a veggie advocate? I have no idea. This is just a weird, ambiguous kind of audience establishment. So when you're establishing your audience, you want to be clear. You want to make sure to come out and flat out say, this is the person or the group of people that this particular essay is targeted at. And in this case, I think that number one is an ambiguous audience, which is confusing. And I like that he's trying to establish audience early, but it just doesn't land exactly how he would like to land. It's okay to try to be creative and come up with a new way to say something, but if you're going to do that, you need to make sure that you're being clear regardless of that creativity. So if you can't say it in a creative way that's also clear, just say it in a normal way.
All right. So to start off with, the savory tofu burger or the half rack of baby back ribs. The ones who are defined as vegetarians, the non-meat eaters, wouldn't be caught alive choosing the juicy ribs. For most, there is nothing like indulging in a piece of meat. However, vegetarianism is becoming increasingly popular today. There are a number of reasons why people are leaning towards a meat-free diet, the most popular reason being that vegetarianism is healthier. According to Tatiana Gelfand, a poll showed that 78% of vegetarians choose this lifestyle because of health benefits. For billions of years, humans have been eating meat, and now the bad claims about meat on one's health, such as it being a leading cause of disease, is taking over.
Okay, first of all, for billions of years, humans have been eating meat. Humans have not existed for billions of years. What we think of as the original humans have only existed for about 66 million years, and what we think of as modern humans have only existed for about 200,000 or 300,000 years. So first of all, this is an irrelevant kind of point, and second of all, it's a false point. So if you're going to make claims like this, make sure that you're making accurate claims. The other thing too is, listen to this. Now the bad claims about meat on one's health. What? This isn't a grammar issue, it's a syntax issue. You guys know that I encourage you all the time to read your work out loud or have somebody else read your work out loud to you. The reason you want to do that is to catch issues like this. So while this isn't a grammar issue, it sounds funny, right? So it needs to be rephrased to make more sense. This also will help you catch grammar issues too. So it's just good practice to, read your work out loud after you're finished, to try to avoid doing this.
And remember, everyone, subject-verb agreement, we have, in that sentence, bad claims about meat on one's health, and then later on, such as it being the leading cause of disease, is taking over, so plural.
Claims, plural. It is not plural. So you want to make sure that that's a noun, pronoun agreement, subject-verb agreement there.
Many cuts of meat, red meat in particular, are high in saturated fats that have been linked to heart disease. Some studies suggest that eating meat may predispose us to cancer.
Okay, so first of all, this is a hanging quote. For those of you who don't know what a hanging quote is, it's when you just insert a quote sort of in the middle of your writing. You don't give it any setup or any kind of explanation. So what happens is it's you writing, bam, somebody else is suddenly in there, and there's no kind of connection between what you're saying and how this quote is related or tied to that. So the simplest way to fix this is to do the, according to Bjerkli. According to Bjerkli, blah, 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 blah. So you're setting up the quote somehow. Later on, this student does a really good job of setting up quotes, so I'll show you when he does that so that you have a good example. But this is something that you want to avoid. Second problem here. If you flip to the works cited page, this citation is listed as having the page numbers 52 through 53, and yet what he puts in this in-text citation is 2. So something's off there with the page numbers matching up. This is something that the student does a lot of times in this paper. I think either what happened is he forgot that he had to put page numbers in, and so at the last minute he went in and just put a bunch of random page numbers in, or a point that Jonathan came up with earlier that I hadn't thought of was if the student was looking at these documents as PDFs, when you're looking at the document, it could be that it's page 52 and 53 of this journal, so that's what's going to be on the PDF, but when you're scrolling up and down on the side, the PDF reader is going to show it as pages 1 and 2, because that's how it sees it, as the first and second pages. So with that being said, you want to make sure that you are citing the page number from the document, not the page number that you're going to see on the right-hand side when you scroll up and down looking at a PDF.
However, a little meat goes a long way in maintaining a healthy balance. Despite the ongoing theory of vegetarianism being the healthier route in life, meat plays an important role in the everyday human life.
Okay, so this is your thesis. And just as with the thesis, it's the same thing that happens with your title. You should be able to take your thesis, walk out in the street, give it to a stranger, and that stranger should be able to tell you with a pretty high level of accuracy what your paper is about. So this thesis is problematic for 2 reasons. First, it's not exactly clear what he's going to be arguing. Second of all, this is a thesis that what he's supposedly saying is that meat plays an important role in life and that vegetarianism isn't necessarily healthy, but he does not argue that well throughout his paper. So this thesis is lacking, number one, the clarity of what exactly it is he's arguing, and number two, it's a thesis that doesn't match his argument because he doesn't prove this thesis. You always want to have a thesis that you are proving in your paper. That's the whole point of a thesis. So just keep that in mind. You shouldn't have a thesis that's totally disconnected from your argument, and unfortunately in this paper that's sort of the case.
And remember, this is a direct thesis in that it makes a claim about something, but we don't really have those signposts, those telltale signs of what he's going to be talking about at some point during the paper and in what order he's going to discuss them. By the way, we keep saying it's anonymous, but we're pretty sure it's a guy.
So we're just going to say he for the purposes of this video.
Let's see. Meat has been around since the beginning of time, and it provided us with the ability to grow.
Okay. First of all, this is a few sentences. Second of all, this is not a good transition. And third of all, it's not really a great topic sentence. The other problem is, since the beginning of time, meat has been around? No, not at all. Not even a little. This goes back to the same thing he said. For billions of years, humans have been doing this. Humans haven't existed for billions of years. Meat has not been around since the beginning of time. So just be careful about this phrasing, making these big claims. If you're going to make a big claim, make sure that it's actually true, number one, and that you can back it up, with some kind of evidence. And I think the student is just using really ambiguous, vague language throughout this paper.
Yeah, I mean, whether you subscribe to the theory of creationism or the theory of evolution, whatever, in the Bible, God didn't give man permission to eat the animals until after Noah, and in creationism, phytoplankton were eating, brontosaurus ribs.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Let's see. Lemonick revealed that it was some 2.5 million years ago that our hominid ancestors developed a taste for meat.
Thank you.
Okay.
The fossil shows. Because that's not the whole quote.
The fossil record shows that the human brain became markedly bigger and more complex at about the same time.
Okay, so this is an instance where the student is setting up this quote very well. The beginning of the sentence is, Lominick reveals that, and then he puts in the quote. So this is how you would avoid doing that hanging quote where you're just inserting it in the middle of what you're saying. However, there is an issue with the syntax citation here. So first of all, the reference that he's citing here actually has two authors. So he's missing the second author's name. Additionally, because he's establishing who the author is in the sentence itself, he doesn't need to repeat that in the in-text citation, in the parenthetical citation. So if you set the author up, you don't need to put it in the parentheses with your page number. And the same thing here, he has this quoted as page 3, and the citation shows this being pages 58 through 69. So again, there's something weird happening here with his page numbers, so just be sure that you are accurately citing your work.
And remember for my class, if you cite the name, or if you mention the name, you introduce the quote with the author's name, you don't have to cite in parentheses the name. But if there's a page number, you still have to give the page number in parentheses.
That's what I just said.
I didn't hear that part of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine.
All right, whatever. Not only is meat completely delicious, it is loaded with vitamin B12. Do you want to explain the problem with meat is delicious thing?
Yes. Okay, so this is an argumentative, persuasive essay. That means that you are arguing something that is factual, based in research, and with that being said, your opinion means jack shit. Okay? Your opinion that meat is completely delicious does not matter to your overall argument. If you're making an overall argument that meat is important to your diet, that's great. Give me the research to back up that argument. Give me statistics to back up that argument. But your opinion is not fact. And your opinion does not matter in an argumentative essay. You're trying to convince somebody that you should be eating meat. That's great. But, just saying that meat is delicious and it has nothing to do with whether or not meat is a necessary part of a person's diet. So, you don't want to be stating opinions because, frankly, in academic writing, nobody cares about your opinions. They care about you having a strong argument that is backed up with research and facts.
Exactly. And sorry, guys, I thought we were done with this, so I started baking some bread. So
he's got to periodically go check on the bread.
Yeah, and that's not a euphemism for anything. I really am baking bread. Cinnamon raisin, actually.
It's very good.
Great quantities of the human population don't know the extreme importance of this vitamin for not only our overall body health, but our brain's function as well. B12 helps maintain a healthy heart and produces much of the red blood cells the body contains. Those who do not consume enough B12 face risk of improper brain function.
Okay, so right there we need a citation. How do you know that? How do you know that people that don't get enough B12 face risk of improper brain function? You need to be giving me some kind of citation.
Yeah, that's not anywhere close to common knowledge.
Okay, and also notice this here. I'm gonna preface this time. So when we started out this paragraph, we were talking about meat being around since the beginning of time, which is false. And then we're talking about hominoid ancestors and their consumption of meat, right? Then in the third sentence of this paragraph, we shift to talking about B12, right? Okay, and then we get to here.
And also pay attention to how long this paragraph is, especially my class.
Yes.
Going back millions of years ago, meat was essential for survival.
So we've gone from talking about hominoid ancestors to talking about B12 to talking about hominoid ancestors again, because now we're going to move into he's talking about hunting and gathering and all this stuff that like ancient humans did.
Sweetie, it's hominid.
Hominid, that's what I said.
You said hominoid.
Oh.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. Let's see. Hunting and gathering was how early humans kept themselves fed, and during that time, meat was never picked on as it is today. So, problem with the word choice there, I'm not exactly sure that people are going around picking on meat eaters. Now, I'm sure we've all had that maybe aggressive vegan or vegetarian that said something, but it's not like they're slapping the Big Mac out of your hand.
Yes. Also, this sentence is a comma splice.
Years ago, if one was to be a non-meat eater, it was considered odd. But nowadays, it's what a number are promoting. There are many types of...
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. A number are promoting. A number is not conscious, doesn't have feelings. Numbers don't promote things. A number of what? People? I mean, you need to be more concise in the language.
Doctors, organizations, governments.
Yeah. Who are you talking about?
There are many types of meats, giving the consumer an array of choices. Some of what one may feed on is chicken, beef, pork, ham, sausage, duck, moose, and even lamb. So be careful of exclamation points. They really have no place in academic writing outside of some creative writing and some reflective writing.
Yes, because you don't exclaim things in academic writing. Also, this pork, ham, sausage all come from pigs. Don't need to do that. Also, notice that we have now shifted back to the modern day.
The fact that meat is heavily concentrated in fats is what scares many people, especially those who are vegetarians. Lemonick and Bjerkli tried to ease this worry by explaining that, besides building our bodies, says Emory University's Dr. Boyd Eaton, the fatty acids found in animal-based foods would have served as a powerful raw material for the growth of human brains. The bad rep that vegetarians give meat is unfair, that's a judgment call, we're not making those, due to the important effect it has on the body.
And if you're going to say the bad rep the vegetarians give meat is unfair, you need to be backing that up with research. Why is it unfair? It's not just unfair because you think it's unfair. You have to give me facts and statistics. My biggest issue with this paragraph that you definitely need to pay attention to is that jumping back and forth. We're going from ancient humans back to the modern day, back to ancient humans, back to the modern day, back to ancient... I mean, he goes back and forth like 5 or 6 different times.
And that really hurts your organization, right?
Yes, absolutely. If you're gonna have a topic, you have a topic per paragraph. You're not in one paragraph. You shouldn't be jumping back and forth between 2 topics or talking about 3 or 4 topics. It needs to be one topic per paragraph. That's why we have topic sentences.
Looking beyond what vegetarians only see, meat is made up of large amounts of vitamins and minerals.
Okay, first of all, looking beyond what vegetarians only see? What? Syntax is weird. Also, what is it that vegetarians see? What are you talking about?
Vitamins and minerals are needed for the proper health of everyone. Of course, meat is not the only nutrient source when it comes to food, however. However, it contains quite a bit more of the complete ones. For those of you that are following along with the text, you can see that comma is in the completely wrong place.
Yes, it's a few sentences.
Let's see. Vegetarians rely on those other options of food and supplements in an attempt, is what it should say.
It's missing a word.
To reap the protein benefits meat eaters experience from their diets. Since a vegetarian has these available sources at hand to them, they do not realize what they're surprisingly lacking. The protein that is received through plants is not as rich nor completely the same as animal protein. For nutrient after nutrient, plant sources come up short when solely relied upon for human nutrition.
Here's another hanging quote. We avoid those.
The plethora of nutrients that one gets from meat helps to maintain metabolism, energy, bones, blood cells, and systems of the body. So there's a problem right here that I have where you start off very, very specific, and then it's just systems of the body, there are many. But it's kind of like saying my favorite colors are red, blue, orange, and all the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. So be more specific. There are multiple systems of the body. Which ones are you saying that the nutrients for meat, help? And where's your research to back that up also?
The most known vitamins that meat withholds...
Wrong word.
I would say that they were probably looking for the word contains.
Yeah.
And probably got off track. Or holds.
Yeah.
Are vitamin B, zinc, protein, iron, and calcium. And here you can see in the citation another example where they were not using the proper page numbers. Without these essentials, one is at great risk of experiencing a number of deficiencies, such as iron, which for some reason is capitalized.
Should not be capitalized.
In Sean Stevens' article, No Bones About It, Meat is Good for Your Health, he conveys a comparison between vegetarians and those who consume meat in their diets. It was said that the research has shown veggie-goers were susceptible to a 5% lower bone density. It's often misunderstood what a great provider meat is for each and everyone's bodies.
Don't say each and every, it's redundant.
This is because it's a complete protein. Now, unless you're a nutritionist or an athlete or a cook or you're really interested in food, you probably have no idea what a complete nutrient is, and nobody else is going to either. So if you introduce a term like that, you need to define it within the paper.
Yes.
Without this type of knowledge, it's easier for vegetarians to degrade meat the way that they do, when generally most are lacking or very low in these essentials. Lemonick highlights meats, and we're messing a possessive there, importance by saying nutritionally the shift away from wild meat, fruits, and vegetables to a diet mostly of cultivated grain robbed humans of many of the essential amino acids, vitamins, and minerals they had thrived on.
Something that's interesting here is that this quote is saying a shift away from wild meat, fruits, and vegetables, but you're kind of you're saying that vegetarianism is wrong. So most vegetarians are still eating their fruits and vegetables. So this is kind of a case where you're presenting research that doesn't fully back your argument, because this guy is saying, that it's robbed humans of amino acids if they're shifting to a diet mostly of cultivated grain. And that's not necessarily the diet that most vegetarians are shifting to. So it's just a weird kind of reference to put in there, or a weird kind of quote, because it doesn't really support what he's saying. So continuing. Meat has been around for as long as we can remember, so why try to take it out of the picture now? Okay, so again, meat has not been around all this time. This paper is full of cliches. My students, I hate cliches. Please try to avoid them. They're filler language, and they're not original. So just try to avoid that, using those cliches. Additionally, so who is trying to take it out of the picture? I don't know who this student is exactly attacking, because it's not like there are massive groups or every single vegetarian in the world is going around demanding that everybody stops eating meat. We just stop. It's not even going to be available. So it's a very flawed argument.
So we're on world's population?
Yeah,
world's population. The world's population is being told these things because some of it is true. Again, you have that disagreement there between plural and singular. It should be some of them are true. Vegetarianism isn't completely inadequate when it comes to survival.
Okay, so first of all, this is a few sentences. Second of all, the world's population is being told these things. What things? What things are you talking about? And who is telling the world population these things? It's just not a complete topic sentence. It's not arguing anything, really. It's just not a complete thought. So you want topic sentences that are going to be strong, that are going to clearly indicate what you're going to talk about in this paragraph, and you also want them to function as transitions if you can. So there's no transitions in this paper. The organization is really shoddy, and the topic sentences are not strong.
Sure, when one lives the life of a vegetarian, he or she is saving animals and supposedly eating more fruits and veggies. But there's more. Although you do not get the most enhanced servings of protein when being a vegetarian, the diet still provides it. Much of the food consumed by herbivores aids in preventing or treating diseases, and also helps the average person intake less saturated fat and cholesterol. As early as early as 1961, the Journal of the American Medical Association. Now, what I would do here is I would put after that in parentheses capital JAMA, so that you can use the abbreviation from this point forward.
I don't think he mentions them again, though.
Probably not, but just in the
generally speaking, it's a good habit. Yes.
Stated that 90 to 97% of heart disease, the cause of more than 1/2 of deaths in America, could be prevented by a vegetarian diet. A vegetarian diet tends to be highly concentrated in plants, fruits, legumes, if you don't know what those are, beans and nuts, vegetables, and more. It is those ample amounts of fruits and vegetables that makes a vegetarian seem healthy and keep the disease on a low.
What?
Just because a vegetarian diet is livable does not mean everyone should convert. Again,
who is asking everyone to convert? He's acting as if every vegetarian in the world is going around and demanding that everyone stop eating meat, and that's just not the case. Also, if you're going to present a counter argument, which is what he's doing here, he's giving you this information about how, being a vegetarian does make you healthier. It can help cut out heart disease and all these things. following that up with just because a vegetarian diet is livable does not mean that everyone should convert is not a good counter argument to the counter argument you just presented. You're not discrediting your counter argument enough. If you can't discredit the counter argument, you shouldn't bring it up.
Well, and my thing is when you start to try and develop counter arguments, you go point by point and counter the individual points. He's just listing out why it's good and then trying to tell you that it's bad.
Yeah, and then he had, but with no research, with nothing to actually back up what he's trying to claim.
Okay, so this, I think this one for me wins the award for the dumbest sentence in this entire thing. Meat is good for us, just as the occasional double-decker brownie sundae is.
No.
Mm-mm. I mean,
never good for you. Empty calories.
Don't care of what kind of logic you're going with there. I mean, you could hide a salad bar underneath that double brownie sundae. It's never happening.
And if your concentration here is on physical health, then comparing meat to a double-decker brownie sundae, first of all, is illogical, yeah. and then it's a flawed argument, because what you're saying is that meat has empty calories and essentially no nutritional value, because double-decker brownie sundaes are not going to have nutritional value.
Oh, and next, Sarah's favorite
Oh,
sentence.
I hate this.
The body should not be kept from anything. Little amounts here and there is normal for maintenance and pleasure.
So, every day, if you take a spoonful of mercury, it's just going to help you. It's just going to help you balance your body. You want to shoot a little bit of heroin now and again? Perfectly fine. You cannot be this vague. The body should not be kept from anything. Seriously. Radiation, mercury, arsenic.
Well, it reminds me of that old Family Guy episode where the Griffins get superpowers, and Mayor West goes to the toxic dump and rolls around in nuclear waste to give him superpowers, and he just gets cancer.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot say this. First of all, it makes no sense, and second of all, you're setting a very dangerous precedent. I mean, any little amounts here and there is normal for maintenance and pleasure. And second of all, what the hell does that even mean?
I mean, I think it's that whole everything in moderation thing taken to a weird place. But, it's like, it would be like someone arguing that if you drink a Sunkist every day, you won't get scurvy.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
It's just ridiculous.
All right, so we're going to go just a little bit into this next paragraph to show you a couple of examples that we don't really care for, and then we'll move on to the conclusion.
We're going to jump to the conclusion, and then we're going to look at the works cited.
Okay, so we start off with another exclamatory statement. Besides that meat provides an amazing taste and a number of dish options, it makes our lives easier. Everyone has those days when they're stressed out or don't just have time to put food on the table. By the way, you'll notice they go super crazy with the hyphens here.
It's strange.
Or just don't have time to put food on the table. When one can't make a pleasant home-cooked meal, they turn to the typical takeout frozen meals or restaurant dining to fill his or her belly. Due to the fact that meat is such a big part of our lives, it is more difficult to find a pleasing and substantial meal when not doing the cooking him or herself. Okay, that's not...
When one is not doing the cooking.
Well, also, it's just it's not a good statement.
No,
I mean, it's not factual, it's not anything. I mean, the fact that he's basically saying you can't get a good meal in a restaurant.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know about you. I've had some bad meals in a restaurant, but I've had lots of great ones, too. Mm-hmm. And I cook. I mean, so... Many veggie goers...
Oh, here's another one. What the hell is a veggie goer? A veggie goer? What is that? Doesn't make sense.
Well, I'll let you go ahead and move on to the conclusion, and I'll be right back.
Checking on his bridge. Say that their diet helps them stay thin because of the light foods they are supposedly only consuming. However, this claim is not true in every case. Many vegetarians need to or unnoticeably eat more food than an omnivore does. First of all, this is a few sentences. Second of all, where is your evidence to support this very broad claim? Many vegetarians need to or unnoticeably eat more food than an omnivore does? How do you know that? You're giving us no evidence. And I love that he starts this sentence by saying this claim is not true in every case. Your entire argument is not true in every case. And so it's just a very generalized, it's just a really poor argument, guys. And notice again that this paragraph starts out with, first of all, an exclamatory statement, meaning it ends in an exclamation mark. Don't use exclamation marks in academic writing. You just don't. Second of all, we don't have a good topic sentence here. We don't have good transitions anywhere in this paper. And also notice that these paragraph links are very long. Almost every paragraph in this paper is between 3/4 and a page long for one paragraph. That's not good practice. You want to practice basically that your paragraphs are not going to be any more than about a half a page. It's okay if you go a little bit over or a little bit under sometimes, but generally speaking, your paragraph should be about a half of a page in length. If they're much longer than that, then you're talking about too much in one paragraph and you need to break those paragraphs up somehow. So we're going to jump to the conclusion, just for the sake of time. So this is a conclusion. Choice goes a long way, and that's what each person has, a choice. People have the choice to eat what they want and to be defined however it may be. One should not become something or stop eating something solely on the idea of living longer or disease prevention because there are risks at any level. So, yes. But that goes both ways. Because what he's saying here is you shouldn't just be a vegetarian because there are health risks with that. Well, there are health risks with eating meat too. So again, he's making this point that can be argued both ways and that isn't supporting his primary thesis, which essentially is don't be a vegetarian. So this is just it's a bad conclusion. It's a bad way of wrapping up his argument. I was on without meat.
Without meat, one misses out on the simplicity of life, major proteins, minerals, and vitamins, and a delicious part of the natural cycle.
How does one miss out on the simplicity of life without eating, because they're not eating meat? That makes no sense to me.
Now, I actually happen to like the idea of the simplistic nature of burning things over fire, but I don't think that's what they're going for here.
No.
Also, the fact that they're going to be missing out on minerals and vitamins, I think they get most of them just fine. I mean, now, sometimes you see vegans and they have that jaundiced, yellow, sick look, but most vegetarians... But that's vegan. Yeah,
he's attacking vegetarians.
Well, and he's also setting this up as he keeps on preaching moderation, like you should have sort of an omnivorous diet, but at the same time, he's kind of painting it like it's black or white. You got to be a vegetarian or an
meat eater.
So, moderation is key to healthy living. Most just need help creating that base. For all those who have been told differently, it's time to diminish the misconceptions and understand that you can have your meat and live healthy too.
Okay, terrible ending. All right, so let's look briefly at the works cited. This works cited page is a mess. There are things that aren't italicized. He's got the last entry in here is the last name and first name are in the wrong order. There's just a lot of information in here. This works cited page looks like it was clearly made by a citation generator. If you use citation generators, that is fine as a skeleton, as a start of a citation, but you have to check against a reliable resource like your Pocket Keys book or Purdue OWL Online. A lot of times those citation generators will just put information in the wrong places. They won't italicize things that should be italicized. They might not put quotation marks around your titles. They make all kinds of mistakes. Even Joiner Library Citation Maker is not always accurate. So like I said, if you're going to use a citation builder, just make sure that you're checking it against a reliable source after you have those citations generated. And so I'm going to move into the rubric, go through that really quickly. So I'll put this rubric up soon for my students. I know that it's not up right now. First thing, thesis and claim of development, and development of claim, 20% of the grade. He gets a 55. The reason for that is thesis is there, but it's not supported well. Critical engagement with evidence, which is 20% of the grade, he gets a 75. The reason he gets a 75 there is that the evidence that he uses doesn't support his thesis. And sometimes it even contradicts his thesis. Form and genre, he gets an 83. Which is 10% of the grade. I like that he tried to do this as a letter, but it doesn't really read like a letter, and it's just not very effective as a genre. Audience selection, he's getting a 78, which is 10% of the grade, because again, who the hell are these concerned meat eaters and veggie advocates? Who is that? It's not a clear audience, so he's getting a poor grade for that. Expression is going to be 65. That's 10% of the grade. Reason for that primarily is these weak topic sentences, the lack of transitions, the ways he jumps back and forth from topic to topic in the middle of a paragraph, all of those things. It has 100% to do with his really poor organization. Tone, which is 15% of the grade, he's getting a 75. The reason for this is he's attacking vegetarians in a lot of ways, which is going to offend a lot of vegetarians, but he's also making these statements as if vegetarianism is always a choice, which is simply not true. There are people in the world who cannot eat meat. For health reasons, they can't eat meat. They can't process red meat particularly. My mom is one of those people. And when you're making these generalized statements and attacking people who don't eat meat, especially people who don't eat meat because they have no choice, you're turning off that whole portion of your audience. My students remember the first paper that we mock graded where the student was arguing heightism and comparing it to racism and sexism. It's offensive. If you're offending part of your audience, then you're not making an effective argument. So a lot off for tone in this one. Formatting citation, which is 15% of the grade, he's getting an 83, mostly for the places that he's missing in-text citations and the issues that he has both in his in-text citations and on the works cited page. So overall grade is a 72, C-. I think I was in a really good mood when I graded this paper because if I graded this now with fresh eyes, this would be more like a D minus paper. It's just really bad. For the overview of this, main points that you should be taking away, your thesis isn't well argued, like we said, or supported. He uses evidence that either isn't relevant or well connected, or even evidence that contradicts his argument, and he doesn't flesh out his points. Form genre is strange, meaning it's a letter that doesn't read like a letter. Why are you writing this as a letter? Because your audience isn't really well chosen. All of those things makes it kind of weak. Audience, again, not clear. The concerned meat eater, veggie advocate thing. I like that he was going to try to be creative, but in trying to be creative, he lost that clarity that you should really have in academic writing. Really poor organization. Topic sentences are weak. Transitions are non-existent. The jumping back and forth from one topic to another and within the same paragraph. And also lots of syntax issues in this. Not a lot of grammar issues in this paper, but lots of syntax issues. Which again, you want to be reading out loud to try to catch both grammar and syntax problems. And then our tone is strange. The author doesn't consider groups that can't eat meat, like I was saying, which is going to offend a lot of his audience or ostracize them. And a lot of the points that he makes are not relevant. They contradict the argument that he's making, or they just don't make sense in general. And then formatting issues, mostly with the in-text citations, page numbers don't match, and that kind of thing, some hanging quotes, and then also the issues with the works cited page. And lastly, this is something that Mr. Willett's probably not nearly as much of a stickler about as I am, but I encourage you all to be practicing this. My students have heard me say this many times. Try to avoid those to be verbs. It's going to be is, are, was, were, am, could be, would be, should be. All of those are to be verbs. To be verbs are very weak and they're very passive. The English language is rich with really strong verbs. So just try to avoid those to be verbs. This paper alone has 77 occurrences of to be verbs in it. And that's a lot for a paper this short. My students know this, but Mr. Willett's don't. When I was an undergraduate, Dr. Fukuchi, bless his soul, every time you use the to be verb in a paper of his, you lost a point off of your final grade for the paper. The first paper that I turned into him would have been like a 87, and I got like a 42 because of my to be verbs. And in this case, this student, if he was one of Dr. Fukuchi's students, he would have lost 77 points immediately from the get-go just for to be verbs. I'm certainly not going to do that. Please don't think that I'm going to start counting your to be verbs and knocking points off, but I will point it out to you if you have a whole lot of them. And it's just good practice, especially in academic writing, to try to avoid that very passive language and to use stronger verbs. But that's it. I think that's all I've got to say about it.
Yeah, we'll both be posting some shorter videos throughout the week and stuff like that. Just checking in. If you have any questions, email us.
Yeah, or kick me for my students. I'm going to try to have Project 2 grades up by Monday. I'm not promising you that I will, but I'm going to try.
All right. See you all later.
Bye.